meeting of the Prison Oversight Board for June 9th, 2020. The first action item would be the acceptance of the minutes from the May 12th Prison Oversight Board meeting. Is there a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next action item is the acceptance of the Controller's Report for May 2021. And I'll present that. So for the Bucks County Prison Oversight Board Controller's Report for May 2021, we present this under Corrections Administration, Correctional Facility, Men's Community Corrections Center, and Women's Community Corrections Center. Every single line item is under budget. If you were to tally the right column at the bottom, it would be nearly 1.5 million under budget thus far through May. Is there a motion to accept?
Yes.
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have it. Thank you. The next summary or the next report is the Director of Corrections report. Mr. Prolli, thank you.
Good afternoon. For the month of May, the population was 653 at BCCF, 95 at community corrections, and 10 were on house arrest. There were 46 transfers from the main facility to community corrections in May. Average female population was 89. There were 353 commitments and 320 discharges. There were 13 transfers to the state. Year to date is 46. Drug and alcohol, 16 inmates participated in group. 15 inmates were on the waiting list for group. 3 inmates received Vivitrol. 103 inmates were treated with Subutex in the month of May. There were 0 diversions detected. 1 Narcan kit was issued to a discharged inmate. That's a total of 3 doses were distributed year to date. In the month of May, BCCF had 13 individuals in virtual DNA. Virtual programming is scheduled to start Monday the 21st, tentative 4 groups and 2 individual sessions. MC3 had 5 offenders in May attend in-house group. Virtual AA continues to be consistent and successful with the HOPE program on a weekly basis. List of women volunteers for a virtual midday AA group at the main jail is being generated and is expected to kick off this month. Smart Recovery Group continues, between 7 and 10 offenders attend. With the success of virtual AA, we're hoping that in the near future, we are able to expand to include other virtual support groups, NA, CA, refuge recovery, etc. We're utilizing CoreTrack to electronically record attendance of individual sessions, and we're moving it into using it at the community corrections for groups. Vivitrol grant had a PMR submitted for extension of 1 year, and the HEART grant submitted for a 3-month extension with the possibility of a 1-year extension in September. New MAT grant application was started so that we can continue to expand our MAT Subutex grant. On the therapeutic units, HOPE had 24 participants, HEART had 8. In the month of May, HOPE had 4 graduates. Prime Care Medical, there were 525 inmates on CMHS census for May. There were 90 inmates on the SPMI list. 260 offenders received psychotropic medications. 615 rounds to inmates by psychologists throughout the month of May. There were 4 inmates on the wait list for Norristown Hospital. There are currently 26 inmates that are housed at Norristown. There are 7 911 calls, a year-to-date total of 30 calls that we've received. SPMI and IDT meetings continue as necessary. There's a new mental health counselor that will start this month, looking to fill the medical health director, which was Abby Cassidy's position. 1 candidate is coming for a site visit, so that's in the works. Medical prime care, there were 341 intake screens completed, 120 inmates visited the dental clinic. We had 4 pregnant inmates in May. There were 192 inmates on detox protocol. There were 14 transports to the ER, 5 transports via ambulance, 9 via DOC security team, and we had 7 admissions. 68,557 doses of medication were given in May. For the month of May, there were 367 inmates on medical isolation, 387 on medical watch. COVID, 187 staff have been out to date, 124 positive cases, and we have no staff out at this time. We continue to offer vaccine to the staff and inmates, even those who had initially declined. We had 344 inmates had been vaccinated, with 157 being vaccinated in the month of May. Assaults and misconducts, there were 118 misconducts. Use of force occurred 23 times, during which OC was deployed 4 times and the restraint chair was used 6. Causes for the use of force include non-compliance on 13 of those, assaultive were 5, and 5 others were for fighting. There were 10 assaults in the month of May. 6 were inmate on inmate, 4 were inmate on staff. There were no injuries sustained beyond basic first aid. Our investigations department conducted a total of 54 investigations, 51 inmate investigations, 5 drug investigations, 3 PREA investigations, all at BCCF. There were 5 misconduct reports, 1 allegation against staff. That was one of the PREAs that was deemed unfounded. 2 internal investigations. Those are reviews of use of force. We had 3 criminal complaints filed. STG, we had 6 inmates that were identified as gang members in the population for the month of May. Treatment services, 329 intake classifications were completed during the month. School-age youth classes are running and currently have 6 males attending. 51 inmates utilize the law library. The library was opened on June 7th. Maximum capacity is 12 at a time. Community correction programs, medium custody, life abundant, medium custody VITA decisions, all held virtual. HOPE has AA meetings that are held virtual. And JPC meeting was held on May 26th at BCCF. And JPC was held on the 24th at CC for the medium and for the minimum custody. Community corrections, as of May 31st, there were 45 male inmates classified as minimum custody and housed at the Men's Community Correction Center. There were 11 of these male residents classified as eligible to work, and of these, 4 are gainfully employed in the community. There were 83 offenders that completed 7,310 hours of institutional jobs during the month of May. Under miscellaneous, we had video court. There were 538 sessions that were held. There were a total of 210 phone calls that were facilitated for attorneys. Training, cadet class 21-02 is currently at the academy. There were 383 hours of basic training in the month of May. We also are conducting training during roll call webinars, which total 47.5 hours. Our project update, the expansion project is nearing substantial completion. It's been pushed back now to sometime in August. It seems like some of the materials that we had encountered with delays due to COVID are starting to come through the delivery process. So we're looking at possibly September for a completion, and then a final walkthrough and a punch list that would need to be completed. The fence is nearing completion. There's a new checkpoint that's installed out at the parking lot. All of our generators are now online and operating as they were designed to. And parking lot paving is scheduled to begin this month. So there'll be some traffic patterns that are going to be different than what most people would encounter for a week or so. And that concludes my report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Prolli. Thank you for that report.
Welcome.
Now I'll reach out. Are there any subcommittee reports? None? No subcommittee reports. Thanks. Are there any other matters to come before the board?
Yes, I have some questions for Mr. Prolli.
Please.
Yeah, Chris, I don't see you. Are you still there?
I am.
Okay, good. Let's see, a couple of questions with respect to the vaccinations. You know, there was an article in the paper today, and I was proud to see that we are one of the prisons that are getting the shots. What percentage of our inmates are vaccinated?
Well, Dave can probably give you more specific numbers on that. He was involved in the vaccination process.
I can say, Sarah, that every offender that raised their hand that wanted a vaccine has gotten one. We were up to around 200. Of course, some of those folks have been discharged. We were one of the first counties to get on board with that. So a lot of those people have discharged. I can't tell you how many in custody are actually vaccinated. Every offender comes in with a medical screen, is asked if they want it, and if they do, when we have 5, they open a vial of vaccine and they do all 5. So I'm not really tracking too many coming in anymore because, you know, we're there. Everybody that wants it can get it. So
Good. The trials have just started being scheduled, you know, starting in June, July. And I know there are certain judges that if everybody is vaccinated in the courtroom, we don't need to wear our masks. And my clients that aren't vaccinated, I'm telling them, you know, you're going to take the stand with a mask on. And so I've encouraged them to go back and agree to the vaccination. And I think that's maybe a positive thing to be telling them that, you know, what's going around the prison is that, oh, a couple of the guys were pretty sick for a day or two. And I think we know that the younger folk feel the effects of it more. But I'm getting the word out there that for those that are going to trial, they really should get the vaccination if we're going to, you know, be in a courtroom and we have to wear masks because they're unvaccinated. So that's maybe information that can be passed along to them.
yeah, when they go through their process every day too, if they change their mind, all they have to do is put in a sick call. We have plenty of vaccine, and we're also doing the second shot. If somebody were to get the first shot and then get incarcerated, we'll finish it the second shot.
Great.
Sarah,
Yes. Oh,
the governor's order for wearing masks will expire June 28th. So we're only going to have to deal with that problem for the next couple of weeks. After that, there's no longer a requirement. Your point about individual judges is something that you'll have to deal with. Some judges may still require it, but there won't be any requirement from my standpoint once the governor's mitigation order expires and our judicial emergency order expires. So I don't think it's going to be the problem that you may anticipate.
good to know. Okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Another question, if I may, with respect to, let's see, you say there's a person interviewing for Abby's job and we filled the counselor position. Someone had resigned, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And we were hoping, we brought up last time that at some point when the new drug and alcohol counselor, Lou, gets his orientation and feels comfortable, it would be great to have a presentation. So Chris, when you think that's the right time, I would love to hear, what his ideas are for drug and alcohol treatment at the prison.
Yeah, we briefed Lou and he's excited to do a presentation. So hopefully in the next meeting or so.
Great. Thank you. That's all.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now we'll move towards public comment. If any members of the public have comment or questions or input, please share.
Hey, Neil, it's Matt Weintraub. Can you hear me?
I can.
Sorry, I was bopping in and out on this Zoom. So forgive me if Chris already covered this. But Chris, we just started with the jury trial, so I think it's fair to say that all court operations are full speed ahead. I heard you say that there were in the hundreds of video applications that were done since the last meeting. Is that something that's here to stay, number one? And do you anticipate that with the jury trials coming back on, that we'll be full speed ahead with respect to normal court operations?
Well, I would say, I guess a decision has to be made regarding video court and regular court. The staff that we have that actually handles the population in and out has been doing the video court. And as you mentioned, 538 were facilitated. And I guess that's a discussion that we're going to have and how we're going to move forward with these two options.
Matt, I can answer that as well. Again, the governor's order will expire, and so will our judicial emergency order. And unless we get an interim order from the Supreme Court, which the Conference of State Trial Judges has requested, then all operations will return to normal because we won't be authorized any longer to use videos unless specifically reserved in the rules or the statute. So we can do arraignments, but the MDJs will not be able to do preliminary hearings. We won't be able to do guilty pleas. And there are a couple of other things that we can do, but for the most part, it's going to be normal operations unless the Supreme Court specifically grants us an extension of the order.
But you expect that that's been the application, Judge Bateman, and you expect that to occur?
We have no idea. I was at a conference on Sunday in State College. We were told that the Pennsylvania Conference of State Trial Judges has requested an interim order that permits us to continue doing that. There's been no response thus far, so there's no indication one way or the other. I would expect that if some counties are still operating under a judicial emergency, that it'll be granted, but I don't know that for sure. And we're trying to find out whether I have the authority to extend that as well without specific authorization from the Supreme Court. So I would plan on business as usual beginning July 1st. Plan on it if we can do. I mean, I frankly, and I think Chris and Dave agree with me. I think using the videos is a good thing. It's good for the prison. It's good for security. Helps us manage things a little better. So I'm in favor of it. I agree. I'm not sure that we're going to have the authority to do it.
So
Kratz has finally sold me on it.
Yeah, it only took a year and a half, but that's progress. I agree.
Yeah. And when he said, I'm not bringing anybody in.
Well, that's my second question. So let's say that there are certain counties that somehow are able to finagle continuing the order, and then they're either refusing to take prisoners or they're refusing to allow us to transport prisoners. Chris, have you guys anticipated that, and are you prepared for that?
To be honest with you, Matt, we haven't encountered that at this point. And Dave, maybe you can speak more to that, but everybody's sort of in the same boat. Everybody's beginning that opening process. So,
Matt, are you talking about writs, bringing writs in?
Yeah. I know some of the gates were shut, but maybe I'm out of date. I'm out of date, probably.
Yeah, things are opening up with the other counties. I mean, the state just this week started to normalize some of their operations with receiving offenders back. The issue is some of the places will not take an offender back. I think we're over that hump with the rapid testing now. I think we're able to do a rapid testing and get the offender back. But I mean, ultimately, what we like to see is, anybody coming in on a writ that needs to stay at the jail, we're hoping that everything else has been exhausted. Like, we don't want to bring them in for a minor case just because an attorney wants to speak to somebody. That, anything that can be done by phone. I mean, obviously, if we're bringing somebody in, we want to maximize it. We hope there's not a continuance and that we can get the case heard and push through, because beds are tight and we're still going to have a quarantine forever, probably. I don't know how much longer, but Dave Damsker's monitoring the situation, so we are still quarantining new offenders. As they come in vaccinated, they're able to not go through the quarantine process, which is helpful. But we're not there yet. We're not seeing the numbers of vaccinated offenders coming in. So, we're asking everybody, just do your due diligence, have the attorney look over everything and do everything you can before you bring a writ to us.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Please let me know. Christy Hoover is our extradition guru. Let me know if there's anything we need to be doing differently on my end, and Tammy Campbell as well.
She seems to have it under control. She's reached out on a couple things, but I think she's got a good common sense approach to bringing people in.
Yeah, I expect so. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Public comment is still open. If you raise your hand and you have the ability to unmute yourself. So first we had Alana Hardison. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Alana Hardison. I am a Bensalem resident, also a member of Lower Bucks for Change. I first would just like to say thank you for being so transparent about your vaccination procedures. That was probably a big chunk of the questions that I had today. I guess I wanted to kind of go to the guard population. Are you keeping statistics and the percentage of how many guards are actually vaccinated as well?
I can tell you that, again, every officer that raised their hand, every staff member, every secretary received the vaccination. We did a general in-house clinic. I don't want to misquote the numbers, but I want to say we were around the 200 mark. Again, I'm not trying to push the numbers higher than they are. But what we did discover was a lot of our officers went to other places and got the vaccine. So there were places that were giving it out, other counties, sometimes through their private physicians. There really is no tracking mechanism. We only know the numbers we did because we sort of did an in-house clinic for the corrections staff. But, you know, if you were to go get vaccinated and you worked at Amazon, there's no way to say, you know, give me a report on how many people worked at Amazon that got the vaccine, right? It's all, you know, it's all separate from the employment is separate from who got the vaccine. I believe the state maintains a registry, but they have no way to cross-reference employment. But every officer that wanted it, every staff person has gotten it. We did 2 rounds at our clinic, and the county has walk-in right now. So again, we put out, if you want the vaccine, they could just walk in and get one right now. It's plentiful and throughout the county. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Also, we had kind of asked for the director's reports, and we see that the last one is from February. Is there a timeline on maybe getting the director's reports back online for the missing months?
Well, the controller is the one who has those reports, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can make those available. We have one for each board meeting. How did you get the February one?
I think they're updating the website.
Oh, we're waiting for updates on the website. I just got that from IT where I'm stationed today.
Thank you.
Public comment, any others? Mr. David Shapiro?
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Kratz. How many inmates have tested positive for COVID-19 after receiving vaccinations?
So none that I'm directly aware of. I know we had 2 offenders that went upstate that we tested that were negative. Both had vaccinations, and then the state did a test up there and they came back positive. They are doing a second round of testing to see what's going on with that. Have not heard from Dr. Dansker on that. That just happened this week. But I have not seen or brought to my attention one person that has been vaccinated that came back in that tested positive for the virus.
You broke up there. You said you're aware of one.
No, I'm not aware of one that we have in custody that had the vaccine that tested positive.
Well, I have one. I represent one.
Okay.
That tested positive after he got the vaccine.
Okay. And I know who you're talking about, so I could follow up with the health department on that. Again, no, I didn't realize he had the vaccine. Nobody has brought it to my attention or Chris's attention that they had the vaccine and then tested positive.
Okay.
That would be, I think the Department of Health would be, they track those type of statistics. I just track the positives in-house.
Thank you.
Public comment, any others? Vincent Montoya-Armanios.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you all again. And I want to start off by just echoing Elena's praise for getting vaccines to those inmates who request it. And so, you know, that's just an unqualified bit of praise. For one of the things that was raised at the last meeting that I went to was that only guards who expressed that they were experiencing symptoms were being tested for COVID. And as we know, lots of folks aren't symptomatic. And so I'm wondering, has the procedure been updated to do mandatory testing for the totality of the guard population for those that might not be expressing symptoms?
No.
It has not.
Right.
Why is that?
We're taking the direction from the Department of Health. That's not been a requirement that they've recommended.
Okay. So I guess I would express support for testing everyone if you have the resources. So my next question is about the email we sent you 4 or 5 months ago for the new minimum wage schedule. I'm sorry, the new wage schedule, and some more details about the use of force incidents. We confirmed that the email was correct about several months ago, and we haven't received the information yet. And so when will that be sent?
Well, I'm not sure. It's been reported at the prison board, I guess, immediately after you made that request. Those numbers were in there on the increases as far as the wages go. And then I report the use of force and generally why they're occurring, what's surrounding them. And we spoke about that without going into a lot of detail. Some of them are assaults on staff. Some of them are fights, non-compliance. So for example, this month, causes for use of force included non-compliance, which were 13, assaultive were 5, and 5 were for fighting. Okay,
and I think that I could be mistaken, but I don't recall hearing what the new wage schedule was. Yeah. And I think that information should be publicly available.
Well, like I said, it's in one of the previous reports. So
it's in one of the director's reports.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So another question, have you completed the suicide investigation from December?
That has been completed, yes.
Okay, and is the outcome of that investigation available? I may have missed it in a report or another meeting.
It has not been published yet.
Okay, and I'm wondering if there's any policy changes that have been implemented in response to the findings of that investigation to prevent it from happening again.
Not at this time.
Okay, is that going to be a conversation soon?
It's in discussion with the law department, and we'll take guidance from those folks as well.
Okay, so the law department's currently having a discussion about what new policies could be implemented to prevent more suicides from occurring.
Yes.
Okay, and we would appreciate some follow-up on that so we can hear what changes have been made. And my last question is, we had a conversation about getting an inmate on the Prison Oversight Board a few months ago, which was turned down because of state laws that prevent inmates from gaining authority over other inmates. And we believe that there are some workarounds to that legislation, such as not giving the inmates a vote on the board, but a voice so that members of the public can interface with the inmate population and understand the conditions of inmate life. And so I implored the board to be open to having that discussion with us. It doesn't have to be right now, but we think that it would be a great way for the public to learn more about what's going on so we can be informed.
Thank you for your input.
Does anyone have any thoughts on that? I would just like to get some perspective from people on the board about their support or opposition to that proposal.
Mr. Doherty, I previously sent an email in a response to Chairperson DiGirolamo about this very issue.
Yeah, I saw it, and it was clear. The policy is clear.
It is clear. It's against the law where an inmate cannot have any control over decisions, records, and the like, which clearly the Prison Oversight Board has, and therefore it would not be permitted under the law, regardless of opinions. That is the direction from the law department, and that was sent over to the members of the board.
Okay, so I would just argue that there are certain ways that we can overcome that challenge. They don't have to have access to personal record. They don't have to have a controlling vote or any type of authority. We just want to be able to speak with some people in the inmate population in a representative manner. So I think that the way that it was framed originally, I agree with you, but there are creative ways to get around that. And I do think that, this should be an ongoing conversation. And so I would like to hear some thoughts from people about just the concept rather than just the explicit details.
Well, the policy is clear.
I'll give them my comments. Can we move on, please? The question's been answered by Mr. Bidlingmeyer. The law is clear. Can we move on?
We can, thank you. Any other public comment? No more public comment, then I'll move to adjourn. Oh, sorry. No more Paynes? You have to unmute yourself, sir.
All right, I'm sorry, apologize. How's everybody doing?
Great.
My name is Morris Scary. I run on No More Pain Incorporated. I'm just listening today and getting an idea. for what's going on. I see we're talking about the vaccinations, and I just wanted to know, I don't know if you guys said this or answered this question. Are we tracking, or is there a way that we're tracking those who did have to get vaccinated in jail and may have got released? Is there, I don't know if
You just muted yourself.
Yeah, you went back to mute.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I gotta get used to the Zoom again. So I just want to know, are we tracking anybody who's been vaccinated and then get released from incarceration?
That's the responsibility of the Department of Health for the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Department of Corrections does not track that.
No, I was just curious if that was something that they were doing. So that's the only really good question I got. So.
Okay, thank you. If then, I'm going to conclude public comment and I'm going to move to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? I got a second from Ms. Karen Dobson on the phone. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. The ayes have